You're listening
to the Bumbling Yeti Podcast.
All right. Hey, everybody. This is John at the Bumbling Yeti Podcast. This is episode 31. I have a guest with me that I've been trying to get on here for quite a while. His name is Mitch Gosche. He is a bassist by way of, I guess you were from Ohio, right? If I understand correct. Now you're in Nashville.
Yep, absolutely.
So I was introduced to Mitch, one of my favorite artists, music artists, Job Fortner. He was the bassist for Job when I went to see him a couple times back a couple years ago, before the world came into what we know it as right now. So, but Mitch is he has a stage presence about him. He looks kind of low key on the stage, and then you go to his Instagram and you get to see his personality come out a little bit more. But Mitch, I really appreciate you taking the time to get on here and talk to me a little bit about what you do.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. So it's odd. I had Job on here. I've had Mike on here, and Mike told some stories about, you and Mike and I guess Adam, right? You all played.
Mm-hmm.
You were in Ohio at one point together at some point, and then you ended up finding each other down there in Nashville.
Yeah. So it started out that we were just playing local shows in the Ohio area. Mike wasn't from Ohio, but he was from Michigan.
Yeah.
And how I originally met him was an artist from Toledo, which is near the border, the Michigan-Ohio border. An artist from Toledo asked me to come play for him, and I wasn't doing anything at the time. So I drove up to Toledo, which was about an hour from my house. I'd never met this guy before, and I walked into his basement, and Mike was there behind the kit. And so we played with him for, I think, 5 months together, and we're looking for a lead guitar player. And I started asking around, and Adam's name came up as a guy who, played guitar, but I don't think Adam was doing too much gig-wise. He just kind of jumped in with people here and there. And so I found Adam on Facebook, and we connected, and he came to a practice. It was great. So we played for various people in Ohio, and then I moved down to Nashville first. Those guys later followed, and I got the gig with Job. And as spots opened up for a drummer, I was like, "Oh yeah, I know a guy. How about you check out this guy?" And then a spot opened up for a guitar player, and I was like, "Oh, I know a guy. Why don't we check out this guy?" And it just worked out so well that I ended up playing, even longer with some of my best friends.
Yeah, that's it's pretty dope when you really talk about it. Michael was, Mike and Job were great, and I do hope to get Adam on here as well. My perspective, again, I was never a country guy. I grew up on late 80s, 90s hip hop and all that, and from the Philadelphia area. But I've come to appreciate the country music and more so, Job. It's odd. I came across him on social media, and I actually was just texting him today, and I was like, "Oh man, I have Mitch on tonight. It's going to be pretty cool." But you guys bring something to music for people that if anyone has never been to like a country show or a Southern rock show, like you guys really, really enjoy like talking to people and, the people that come to see you. So when I came to see you guys, when you were with Job, that was, I guess you guys were opening for Cody Johnson. And I think the first time I saw you guys, there was maybe 50 people there when Job was playing. And the second time I saw you guys at the TLA, I mean, it was packed out for Job. And then, Cody Johnson came in. But I think, from someone who enjoys the music, and I certainly do, I appreciate you. And, I said the same thing to Mike, and same thing to Job, is that, you guys coming out and meeting with people, and, having a drink with them, or many drinks, depends on what kind of night it is. It's important. And I think you
It's
guys
always
really have
many.
it figured out. Yeah. 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 So for everyone listening, I'm actually, I got the swag on here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I
Yeah,
was,
absolutely. Looking good.
yeah. So Mitch now plays bass for Trey Lewis, which those of you guys who may not know him, you should definitely check out his music. Number one, he has a song kind of that, I guess, I don't want to say put him in the mainstream, because I mean, he's got some legit music out there. I don't want it to seem like a gimmick. But if anyone's heard of the Dick Down in Dallas, it's a catchy little ditty, and you can get out there and listen to it. And I can't wait to see you guys when you come here. So tell me a little bit about how, from your perspective, right? So from a bassist, you're not like a front man. But that's one of the things I'd like to really try to understand. I have a producer coming on here either probably next week from Nashville. I'm like all hooked up into Nashville people at this point. But from your perspective, like, so how do you get into doing what you're doing now? So if you have like a little bit of a story, I'd be really interested to hear how that goes.
Yeah. When you first move to town, what you want to do is, as a player, go out all the time. You need to find the spots that the other musicians are hanging out at, and you need to be there and make your face known and make friends, because really it is who you know. Because the people that you know when you move, after you move to town, the people that you meet, they're going to be the ones that help you get work. And I was fortunate enough, a buddy from Ohio of mine who played bass, his name is Josh McAfee. I was really fortunate when I first moved down that he had moved a couple months earlier and was doing really well and getting so much work that when I moved down, he was like, "Hey man, do you want to take this gig? I'm busy that weekend." And I said, "Yeah, I don't have anything going on." So I just continually did that. And eventually he asked me, "Hey, this guy named Joe Fortner is hitting me up, wanting me to play for him, but I'm busy all the time. You want me to give him your number?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And so I got the text from Job asking me about the gig, and I went to his house and we rehearsed, and he wanted me to play for him full time after that. So basically, it's just about who you know and making sure that you know people's material and stuff when you show up. Because because you get the opportunity, if you blow it, it's not going to do you any good.
Right.
But you just have to be prepared. You have to be prepared for when you get that call, pretty much.
Yeah. So that's I mean, that's almost exactly what happened with when Mike was on here explaining. So I mean, obviously you have to know what you're doing, right? So you can't just go out there and be like, yeah, I play the bass, or, I play the drums or whatever. So I guess when you got to town and you were doing it, was that a pretty quick process, or were you like gigging all the time?
It was a relatively quick process, because what's actually funny enough, that guy who helped me get the Job gig knew that I was moving to town and asked me about a gig the week that I was supposed to move. I was still in Ohio, and he asked me to do a gig with a Nashville guy the week I was supposed to move. So I actually went down to Nashville and hopped in a van and went
Okay.
off to do a North Dakota and Minnesota run, a 2-week run in North Dakota and Minnesota, without having lived in Nashville yet, which was pretty crazy at the time.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And after that, I did a few more gigs with that guy. And then I think I'd lived in town for 3 months when I got the text from Job.
Okay.
And I was
That's a very quick process.
It was, but I was fortunate that I already had that buddy down here with his foot in the door to help me out. I can't say that it happens that quickly for everybody.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So from a bassist perspective, is there, because obviously Nashville's full of talent. It's a tremendous, but first of all, it's a really fun town. But it's full of a tremendous amount of talent. What is that like there for someone, like you say, it's who you know, and it's about getting into the scene and all these different things. How is that from your perspective? Is there like a ton of just flat out, musicians and artists down there that can pretty much do anything? And is it kind of luck of the draw? I mean, I wouldn't say luck of the draw, because you say you network. And I'm sure anyone who does look, and I'll put all of your social media stuff up on here. I'll probably rotate some pictures out, because it's it's a very good follow. You're a great follow on Instagram. But from your perspective, is there just a lot of talent down there that you have to kind of weed your way through, like if you were a singer, right?
So there is a lot of talent down here. What really separates the, I guess, wheat from the chaff is really more the little things. Not so much how well you can play your instrument, but it's more, I mean, that is important. You need to be able to play, but the level of playing isn't as important as being tolerable to be around.
Right.
Or being on time, or hearing this little part in the song that makes it, versus just going out and playing whatever you want to show off.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny you mention that. Yeah. It's funny you mention, being tolerable. And that's something I ask everyone, because I mean, I've traveled for work, not like you guys do. You guys are true road warriors. But the way that, I mean, when I last saw you guys, you had it was like an econo van, and your merch truck broke down, and you guys were loading up. I mean, I came out with my daughter because I wanted, we had to get going because she had school the next day, but you guys were loading the van, and that's one of the things that I'm sure you get to a point where maybe you don't have to do that, but it's like maybe you don't want people touching your stuff, but you guys were living basically in an Econoline van, loading it up, unloading it, putting your set up, breaking it down, doing all that work. And that's the part that interests me the most, because I mean, you guys can go out and you can slay all day long. You can go out, put on the best show, but it's like that logistics piece, right? So getting to the show, do you have to set up? And it's, everyone's like, oh, it's that rock star style, that rock star lifestyle. It's like, I'm really interested to see how all of it comes together. So, you it seems like you've recently had an upgrade, right? So you guys have a little bit more room.
We've had a little bit of an upgrade. I'm actually sitting in the bathroom on our bus right now doing this. So
where are you guys at?
Everybody. We're currently in a parking lot waiting to roll out for this weekend's gigs.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking one for the team here. So how did you get, I mean, obviously the world's upside down still, and, Nashville's kind of, opened up, pretty reasonably, pretty early as well. From your perspective, and actually I'd like to understand how you went from playing with Job to now playing with Trey and his band.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually, this one's kind of a crazy story of coincidence as well. That first gig that I did with Job was at a venue called Zydeco in Birmingham, Alabama. And co-headlining with Job was Trey Lewis. So that first gig that I did with Job, I met Trey, learned who he was, and sort of ran into him here and there in probably say the first 2 years that I was with Joe. And one night I ran into him at Whiskey Jam. I don't know if you're familiar with Whiskey Jam.
Yep. Joe's actually playing this weekend. Yep.
Gotcha. For anybody who's not familiar, it's a full band showcase. They just have bands up there. They play 3 or 4 songs and they rotate out to the next one. But so anyway, I ran into him at Whiskey Jam and saw him. I said, "Hey man, I'm looking for some extra work, just some fill-in stuff. If you know of anybody that's looking for that, let me know. I'd love to do it, cover stuff or whatever." And he said, "Oh, well, my bass player I have currently can only really do so many gigs. I'm looking for somebody that can help fill in the calendar for me." I said, "You know what? I think I might be your guy." And he texted me, I think 3 different times. And every time just happened to land on a weekend where I was out with Job. And I thought, man, this guy's going to stop texting me. I feel terrible. I want to do this so bad, but I'm just busy every single time he texts me.
Right.
And one time he finally got to me and I was free. And I went and did it. And he said, "All right, you're going to be the preferred guy whenever my bass player can't make it," which was relatively frequently. He really helped me out, helped fill in my calendar a lot. And when Dick Down in Dallas came out, his other bass player actually had a full-time job.
Okay.
I was sort of just doing the weekends with them. And they loved him, but it just wasn't going to work out with the full-time job and everything. We were too busy for that. So I am now the guy.
It worked out pretty well. You got you're hitting the road all the time. I mean, you guys are all over the place. And, I became a very big fan of Trey, not only from his music, but, just the way that you guys interact. Like he goes live and like, I'm always saying some smart ass remark, like, what's Mitch listened to in the back is, some nonsense, but you guys really seem to.
My Fleetwood Mac.
Right. Yeah, exactly. He goes, "Oh, probably Fleetwood Mac." And you're like, "Yep, that's what I'm listening to." But yeah, I mean, so you go from, Job, who's, I mean, you guys did some pretty big, legit shows, like, a big show. So that gets me to my next question. It's something I always like to ask is when you step out into a big show, right? So it's usually the drummer first, and then like the bass, and then the guitar guy, and then maybe the lead will come out. What's that feel like when you step on a stage and there's just like people losing their shit, like losing their mind? Like what's that feel like to you, and what goes through your mind when that initially happens?
That's a good question.
And if it's nothing, that's fine too. If you just go out and do your thing.
It's, to be honest with you, you grow a little bit numb to it, which I always try not to let myself be numb to it, because it's something that I've dreamed about seeing for years and years and years, and struggled really hard to get to a point where I can walk out on a stage and see a crowd screaming. And so you do get a little used to it and a little numb, but backstage before I go on, I always try to hype myself up, sort of like before a football game.
Right.
You're banging on your helmet, you're screaming at your friend next to you, and just getting hyped up. I usually I even do jumping jacks, or I jump as high as I can and pull my knees to my chest, do that a couple times, get the blood circulating and get hyped up. And it's always great to walk out to a crowd, and I usually raise my hand and my finger up to them, give them a little point. And some nights you're met with crickets by that, and it's a real quick, oh boy, okay, we're in for one of these. All right, well, just gotta win them over. But then other nights they just explode
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess my next question would be, how do you pick out your outfits for shows? Because like you run the gamut. You run the gamut 100% on your outfits, whether you're just like kind of classic rocker look to the guy with the no sleeves and the cut off jean shorts. Is it just kind of you just go and flow with
That,
whatever? I mean, you seem like you have a pretty interesting personality when it comes to that. You just look like you want to have a good time, and you understand that how lucky you might be to be out living your dream.
yeah, the jean shorts and everything, that is not a stage look there. That is a riding around look.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
I think I lost you. I don't know if you can still hear me.
look good, but you can't be too flashy. But I definitely like to be a little flashier off stage.
I got you.
Okay.
So how's the how with that being said, how is the so you went from like an Econoline van, right? Like one of them big I mean, if you're from Ohio, like one of those Amish vans, right? We could say that, right?
Yeah,
And
the E350.
right. So you went from that to now, I see you posing in front of these big, this big rig that you guys have, and it looks like you guys are really, really, really having a good time.
We are. We definitely are. We get into all sorts of fun out here.
So what's the so the shows have grown, right? The shows have grown.
Oh
and
yeah.
are you guys doing like your own like tour, or are you opening for people, or are people opening for you?
We are headlining nearly all of these shows except for festivals right now.
Okay.
They are our shows. I wouldn't necessarily call it a tour because it's more of a just running list of dates that's being updated frequently rather than a giant block that we just have set for, say, the year.
Okay.
But we are adding dates all the time, and they are headlining dates almost exclusively.
I imagine you guys are going to be hitting a tour at some point very soon, as long as things. Well, I think once things settle down a bit. But so what's it like? You guys were just in Ohio, right? So did like all your family and friends come, like people you grew up with? And
we actually weren't in Ohio. That one unfortunately got postponed due to COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Were people pretty hyped though that you guys were coming?
Because I did have a few people that were planning on coming out. Yep.
Okay. Nice, man. So what's next for you guys? Like what are you guys thinking is coming next? I mean, from my perspective, Trey, I mean, when I say Trey, I mean, the entire band. I mean, and from a musical perspective, if anyone hasn't actually listened to Trey, by the way, the new EP is amazing. When you see the personality that you guys all have, you go out and you make incredible music, like really, really good music.
Thank you.
So do you go in the studio with these, or are there like studio people that go in like when there's recording, like to make the music?
When a record comes up, almost all artists in country use what they call session guys.
Okay.
Which are typically guys that are, equipped with the skill set to specifically do studio work, because it does require a different set of skills to do something at a studio versus on stage.
Okay.
And so we distinguish them as session guys and road guys, or road dogs, as some people like to call it.
Got it.
We did not go in and do the EP. That was session guys that did that. And that's almost always the way it works out in country music, and same with pop music. But
Yeah,
there
I mean,
are
it
a
makes
few
sense.
exceptions.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Jason Aldean's band is just absolutely insane, both in studio and on stage. And he uses the same group of guys that are on the stage.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. I guess when you get to a certain point, it's, you guys are on the road all the time together. So I would imagine you know a lot more about yourselves than even you think. So what's your favorite part of being on the road? Like outside of playing. So like when you go on the road, is there anything that you like?
I really
gets you through it?
I really enjoy meeting just the different people is one of the big things for me, and really seeing different cultures across the U.S. Every region has some sort of distinct culture.
Right.
We're all Americans when you boil it down, but every region
Right.
does have its own distinct culture in and of itself. And I really love seeing that. I also love just looking at the geography, which is why I love going to California so much, because
Right.
until I was 24, I think was the first time I went there, I had never seen desert or anything like that. I grew up in the cornfields of Ohio.
Right.
Super flat, just corn above your head and very green. I'd never seen anything like the desert. And it was it was mind blowing. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's one of the things I want to do is I actually I'm looking for a motorcycle because I've realized over the last year and a half I want to, like, I have a buddy, one of my best friends goes on a ride every year. He went on a 3-week ride and put like 9,000 miles on his bike. He lives in Lenoir City, Tennessee, and he went up around like Mount Rainier and stuff. I've been from coast to coast, but I've never really seen anything in between. And I want to ride through that one light town and see, stop and have like a lemonade or something, just talk to the people. So I do understand that.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. I think, people miss that a lot. So, but yeah, that's awesome, dude. I love hearing that. So when you get to a show, and what's your favorite part of the current shows that you guys are doing? I mean, obviously they're going to be different every time, but what's the part that you look forward to the most? It could be a song, it could be a moment.
Yeah. I really look forward to the in between the songs, some of the transitions that we do. We've got a few parts where we really get to rock out, and get to be front and center a little bit. And I especially enjoy the outro that we do after Trey has finished and he steps off stage, and I move into that middle of the stage spot, and we do a little bit of a headbanging spot for the end. We do some hits that we do them progressively more and more, and we add a headbanging element into that, and the crowd usually enjoys it, especially with my hair that I have nowadays.
Right. Yeah.
It makes for quite a spectacle, and I get to be the center of the show for just a second, and it's pretty fun, pretty exhilarating.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I don't have that problem with the hair, but last time I did any of that, I remember I was in Mexico. We had like an 80s night, and I wore like a wig, and I was so sweaty and hammered, and I was throwing sweat all over people. They were so disgusted. It was a great time. But awesome,
it's
man.
Hot.
So
it is.
I believe it. So what is your favorite show that you've done so far? Where was that at, and why was it like just a great show from your perspective?
My favorite show was actually with Job. We did the Troubadour in Hollywood, California.
Okay.
We opened for Whiskey Myers, which is one of my favorite bands now.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a common theme among you guys.
Yeah. It was my first time in California. We were out with Whiskey Myers for the first time, and I'm such a huge classic rock fan that the Troubadour just has so much history that stepping in there is almost like going to Mecca. You know, it was just, this is the Holy Land kind of experience, and it was absolutely mind blowing. It was sold out, insane.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And it's interesting. So like, and I think the cool thing is that, you know, you kind of document, you're documenting through, you know, Instagram. And again, you're a great follow. There's some really good pictures on there, and I think it shows your personality. But I think it kind of lets people in to understand a little bit more about what it's like to be out there and, you know, check things out and all that. So, yeah, it's pretty dope stuff, man. I love hearing from different people's perspectives and trying to understand, you know, it's all about the journey, right? So you have a finite amount of time in your life, and you got to kind of try to make the most of it, right? Especially now. I mean, who knows what happens tomorrow and with all the chaos in the world, but you guys are doing something special, man. And you might, I'm sure you guys know it, but you're not just playing music, you're actually bringing people together. And that's a very hard thing to do, especially today. So I want to thank you for that. And I like hearing the stories from guys like you who, you know, who may not be the front guy or the front person, and try to understand, you know, kind of what makes you guys tick and what got you to where you are now. And I can see that, you know, you and again, I go back to the country kind of feel. I mean, I've been to some hip hop shows with my daughter, and you know, the show's supposed to start at 8. They don't start until 11. I come to one of your shows, and the show's supposed to start at 8. It starts by 8:03. Like, you guys are out there on the stage.
It is a different sort of set of rules from genre to genre as far as that goes.
Yeah. So, tell me about this lighting setup. I heard that you guys have like one of the most insane lighting setups, you know, around. Like, I mean, I've seen some videos. I haven't seen you guys in person just yet. I can't wait to see you guys in person. But it looks like, you know, I mean, it looks like an insane, crazy time.
We definitely do have an awesome lighting setup. We were fortunate enough that Trey, before he released Dick Down in Dallas, his manager also owns a production company that puts on huge events. You know, they provide lighting and staging and sound and all of that. So his manager owns that, and Dick Down in Dallas comes out, and we start bringing his toys with us for the show, which just created an absolutely incredible light show. I love our light show.
Right.
And I'm very proud of the people that run that for us.
So you guys don't have to set that up, right? But you do all your other setup, like all your instruments and all that other kind of stuff? I mean, obviously you do sound checks and stuff as well, right?
Yeah, we still do that. We set up all of our stuff, and we actually do help with the lighting, at least the moving of the stuff, not so much the rigging it up after we get it to the stage. But we all do help push just about every case that's in the trailer. Nobody really parses what their job is versus what everybody else's job is.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's moving stuff.
Yeah, you guys, and I think it comes down to like respect, right? So you guys are out there doing your thing, and you know, the other piece is, I think you guys, I don't know if it was Trey or someone went live when you guys were, I guess, rehearsing, and I mean, it's crazy to see that side of it. Like I've gotten and I mean, I'm just speaking for me, but yeah, I got to see a lot of behind the scenes stuff. You guys go into, you know, a sound, I don't even what you call it. It's like a big room, and you rehearse and do your thing. And it's funny because I see you guys doing your thing, and then like when the music drops out and I guess the audience starts to sing, that was interesting for me to see, because like you guys were still rocking out and I can hear you going in your head. And then I'm like, oh, this all makes sense. Like it's, like it's a true rehearsal. It's like, cause you guys are putting on a legit show.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's sort of like in football, our coaches always used to tell you, practice like you play.
Right.
And that's essentially what we do when we get into the rehearsal room, is you run through the show as close as possible to how it's going to play out on stage, including the talk in between songs. You practice that. And that's not specifically written word for word what Trey says every night.
Right.
However, he does have a general idea of what he's going to say where. And so you rehearse saying that too. That way you know exactly. That way you don't mess up what you're going to say on stage.
Right.
You just rehearse everything from top to bottom.
So what do you like, playing bigger venues or smaller venues? I get the same answer from everyone. I'm just curious to hear what you say.
I like a good in between.
Okay.
It's, the type. My favorite venues, it's not so much based on size, although I do like under 1,000 people, usually better. But I really like the dingy, dirty rock clubs are my favorite places.
So you must have loved Philly when you came here.
Yeah, I did. I loved TLA. That was actually one of that's in my tops list, certainly. Although it was a little bit bigger than the ones that I really love. I love especially the 40 watt in Athens, Georgia.
Right.
I think the cap is like 600, but that's like packed in there. You can barely fit 600. I would say it's comfortable like 400. Okay. And it's just dingy. The green room has drawings all over it, Sharpie from bands that have been there in the past. It's got a lot of history, and I love it, and I love venues like it.
Yeah, it sounds. I can understand. It's probably like, from a baseball player playing in Fenway. I do understand that. Just the history behind there. So I guess this is one thing I don't. So do you do backup vocals as well?
I do not. No.
Okay. Yeah, because I was trying to think about it, but I think you probably do say it. I think I've seen you singing the words and stuff like that, but
yeah, I sing a lot, just not into a microphone.
I got you. Yeah. Well, I sound great, and when no one can hear me as well. I sound just like Trey. I sound just like Job. I sound just like everyone I listen to. So, so when you come out, like, I guess when you're out there, and one of the more mainstream songs, right? So let's just stick with the Dick Down Dallas piece. Do the people just go absolutely bananas when that starts? Or
yeah, absolutely. We actually have a track that plays before we go into that song, that it teases that tag part, that Dick down in Dallas,
right? Yeah.
And then it does this like sub pattern, and then it does it again, Dick down in Dallas,
right?
And we're just up there acting goofy and crazy, and that gets people ready. And by the time that first lick, the once we hit that and drop into it, people are just going ape shit.
Yeah, I would. That would be me for sure. And I try to, I try to get my kids involved. My youngest daughter, she's actually going to be 16 in a couple weeks, and I brought her to the last time you guys were here with Job and Cody Johnson, and I actually have a picture of her with you. But we had to it was crazy. We had to get out of there for reasons beyond my control. But yeah, it's I explained to her, I'm like, hey, this is how, this is kind of what gets me going. And she has she's a big Cody Johnson fan. You know, I'm like, you know, hey, you got to listen to this, you got to listen to that. And again, man, like, you know, for what it's worth, you know, Trey might have gotten more notoriety from the Dick Down in Dallas song, but I didn't realize that I've been listening to him for a long time. Like if I throw Pandora on or something like that,
Oh, really?
he's got some, yeah, he has some like amazing songs, and that dude can sing. Like he can blow for sure. Yeah. Like he's a legit singer. It's not just some kind of, you know, it's not just like a gimmicky song. I mean, you know, I couldn't believe when I finally started listening. I'm like, Jesus, dude, I've been listening to this guy for a while. But yeah, it's pretty cool, dude, that you know, I mean, you've had some pretty good luck, right? You know, you're out there, you're networking with the right people, and obviously people like you, having you around, which is, you know, even more important. I think it just shows what kind of people that you all are. And yeah, man, I love hearing about the stories, the journey, kind of, you know, where you want to go. So I guess that'll lead into kind of my last question. Are you just kind of, I don't know how you plan as a musician, right? So like you have career, like me, you know, I'm just like an office dude at this point, right? I would have been the ultimate hype man. I will say that. Like if you guys ever come here and you need a hype man, I will be that guy. I'll pay you guys to do it. Trust me. But so what's in the future for you, or you just kind of living like kind of in the now? And
for the future, I just plan on taking this as far as I can. My ultimate goal is to play in the biggest band in the world. It's a modest goal, you know. That's
yeah.
But I'm just going to take it as far as I can, and I'm also working on trying to get some rock stuff going in my free time. Trying to get a rock project going. Haven't gotten too far into that yet, but
that's a good thing. You're super busy on a successful run right now. So
yeah, absolutely. It's hard to find any free time to do anything, let alone anything else musical, because once you get done, your brain is just kind of
right. Yeah,
you're just over music, you know.
I hear you.
You need some downtime. Yeah.
So what's the go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, so that's my plans for the future, is to just try to work on that and continue to be a player.
Okay. All right. Do you write music at all?
I'm working on the rock stuff. I am writing a little bit. It's not my forte, but practice makes perfect. So I'm just going to continue to keep doing that. I don't write a lot, and I don't write in a Nashville sense.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, look, man, I really appreciate your time. I know you're probably got a lot of stuff to get done and get ready for this weekend. Again, Mitch, I really appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again in person. I can't wait to see you and the band playing. And you know, if there's anything that I can do for you guys here in the Philadelphia area, I would love to have some way get like a small music festival, even a one-day thing. So I'm trying to work on that. I just don't know how any of it works. So eventually I'll get there. But yeah, man, if there's anything I can do for you guys, I mean, I share the music, I do all that kind of stuff, and you know, and I'll put all your social media stuff in here. You are a great follow, and I'm sure as you guys start to hit more locations, it'll only get better. So yeah, man, I appreciate your time for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And if you know anyone else who might want to come on and share anything, feel free. You know, other, you know, musicians, bass players, writers, you know, singers. It doesn't really matter. I'm just, you know, I'm trying to get everyone's name out there the best I can. And I've been very lucky so far that you guys actually are entertaining the fact of talking to just some dude from Philly who's super interested in the journey that people are on. So yeah, man. Well, look, have a great weekend, and I'm sure you guys are going to tear it up. And again, if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. But other than that, again, everyone, this is John from the Bumbling Yeti. This is episode 31. This has been a really good conversation. Mitch and I've tried to get him for, I guess, almost over a year at this point. Mitch Gosche, he is the bassist currently for Trey Lewis. You can follow Mitch at Mitch Gosche Bass at, I guess it's all your at Mitch Gosche Bass on Instagram. So that's Mitch.
Yes.
And
Gosche.
Got it. Okay. And I'll tag everything in here and I'll put it up on the screen. And if you're interested as to who he's playing with right now, that's Trey Lewis. It will be at Trey Lewis Music. Definitely, he's a great follow as well. But his music is just great. And thanks, bro. I really appreciate it. Go get. I guess sounds like you guys are loading the van up or the truck up, getting ready to roll out.
Yes, we are. We're getting ready to roll.
All right, buddy. Well, stay safe, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
All right. Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Yeah, man. I'll catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Bumbling Yeti podcast.
Have an idea for a future show or guest? Hit us up on our socials at The Bumbling Yeti
Or email at thebumblingYeti@gmail.com.